Welcome, everyone, to the very first class of the second semester from Machloket to Rebellion. If you are watching this video, it means you weren't in a class on Wednesday, January 11th. Please watch this video, answer the questions via email, send me your answers via email by this Friday at 5 o'clock for full credit, depending upon the quality of your answers. So here we go. The first thing I want to show you is we went over, first of all, some housekeeping before we start. Because of your feedback, there will be at least 3 multiple choice questions in each ed puzzle this semester. I'll make comments on all answers that receive less than 5 out of 5. You'll have an opportunity to get back half credit that you missed by sending me an email with your answer corrections 1 week after I grade your work. If you miss class, you need to watch the video review of the class on my TBT, answer the questions, email me the answers before Friday at 5 of that week, and you'll get full credit for your work. We started today by reviewing some of these words from last semester. I also, by the way, gave back your final exam, and I'm happy if you want me to scan that and send it to you as well. Just let me know. So the first one, number 1, machaloket. What does that mean? Question number 2, machaloket l'shem shamayim. What does that mean? Number 3, machaloket she'eno l'shem shamayim. Do you remember what that means? Number 4, ayeka. Number 5, koshir kushya. Number 6, teirutz. Number 7, ein mukdam u'muchar b'torah. Okay, just to check your work, machaloket just means disagreement. Machaloket l'shem shamayim means disagreement for the sake of heaven. Then we have disagreement not for the sake of heaven. Ayeka means where are you? God says that when he's looking for Abraham, even though God knows where Abraham is. Adam is. God wants to engage Adam in some kind of conversation. A koshi or a kusha is a problem that we have in a text, something that is kasher, something that is difficult. And Rashi often brings up lots of kushiot, the 5 famous kushiot. So Rashi brings up problems. And of course, 6 teruts is a solution. So there's kushiot and there's terutzim or teruts to a kasha. Okay, and the last word, ein mukdam u'muchar b'torah. The idea that there's no chronological order to the Torah. And if you remember correctly, Ramban did not agree with this idea that the Torah can sometimes be out of order. Ibn Ezra, however, does say that the Torah can at times be out of order if necessary. Okay. Just a bit review. Last semester, we started our year, right? If you had just come into class and I said, oh, machaloket means disagreement. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? We all would have been like, oh, bad thing, bad thing, bad thing. But then we studied all of these different parts of the Torah, and we realized, oh, you know what? Machloket might not be such a bad thing, actually. And actually, God might even be a creator of a machaloket for some reason or another. And the machaloket she'eno l'shem shemayim, which we saw the Korach and his Hara, but then we looked at also one of the worst moments of Jewish history in the Torah, the Golden Calf, and we realized, you know what, that's actually probably not a machaloket she'eno l'shem shemayim. And Korach, we just didn't find many examples of a machaloket being so bad to call it a machaloket she'eno l'shem shemayim. And the difference between the Golden Calf and the machloket and the Korach and the followers machloket is so vast that it makes you think, well, maybe actually most machlokets are actually machlokets that are l'shem shemayim. Right. Okay. So then we kind of came to this idea that, well, maybe machloket's not such a bad thing after all. And now we have a play called The Misguided Adventures of Eliezer ben Padat. This comes from the Talmud itself. So what I'd like you to do is let's go through this together. Like everyone had parts. Sherry, you even had a part, but you weren't in class. All right, here we go. So, here we go. OMG, I cannot believe it. The news. I mean, Reish Lakish was my favorite rabbi, Gawker number 2. You're not, and not to mention that guy was BUFF buff. I mean, his abs were ripped, and he was like 2 billion years old. I mean it. I think it was because he was a gladiator and all back in the day. By the way, true. Reish Lakish was not Jewish. He was a gladiator, and he became Jewish. You mean that wasn't just a rumor? Not in the slightest. Reish Lakish was quite the party guy before he converted to Judaism and married Rabbi Yochanan's sister. You guys are getting a bit sidetracked here. Did you hear what happened in the study hall? They got into a huge fight. Who got into a fight? Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan. They were totally duking it out with words. The whole study hall was taking sides. I remember it well. Flashback. Narrator. Here, there's a flashback in time as we see Rabbi Yochanan sitting with ex-gladiator Reish Lakish discussing when metal is able to become impure. Look over there. There's Rabbi Yochanan talking now. Listen up, Reish Lakish. I know it's right. I know how metal works, and believe me, I know when it is able to become impure. Reish Lakish, look who's talking. You've been in the study hall for way too long, Rabbi Yochanan. You haven't picked up a piece of metal in your life, and you have. You forget, my friend. I did have a past life in which I was very intimate with pieces of finely sharpened metal objects. I know all about these sorts of things. I guess you never did leave that side of you behind, you thug, you. And to think, I brought you into my home and made you my brother-in-law. You're nothing but a big old gladiator bully. And Reish Lakish steps back, visibly offended and embarrassed, and trips over the stool in the study hall and dies. Rabbi Yochanan says, oh my goodness, what have I done? I've killed my brother-in-law. I've killed my study partner. How could I have done such a thing? And immediately Rabbi Yochanan sinks into a deep and dark depression. He wouldn't eat. Hey, Rabbi Yochanan, how about this chocolate-covered banana with whipped cream? Go away, my son. He wouldn't sleep. Hey, Rabbi Yochanan, how about drinking some extra strong chamomile tea on this Tempur-Pedic organic goose feather mattress? Go away, my son. And everyone wondered what to do. What should we do? What should we do? What should we do? Until I've got it. We'll send Eliezer ben Padat to go and study with him. And whatever Rabbi Yochanan says, Eliezer ben Padat will tell Rabbi Yochanan that he is 100% correct. Great idea. Brilliant. And that's exactly what they did. So here's Eliezer ben Padat saying, Rabbi Yochanan, it's unbelievable. Everything you've said today is absolutely correct. I came here to find ways to show you up and prove you wrong. But your logic's impeccable. Your intellect is razor sharp and unmatched. Your thoughts are... And Rabbi Yochanan screams, enough! What'd I do wrong? I'm just telling you how brilliant your line of reasonings have been today. And Rabbi Yochanan says, enough. Don't you get it? If I had wanted someone to agree with me, I could have just studied alone. That's not what I want. I want fighting. I want arguments. I want back and forth, fiery debates. I want your mama insults. Who needs all this? Who needs all this agreement? When I would say something to Reish Lakish, he'd lash out at me and tell me 10 reasons why I was right and he was wrong. Then I tell him 14 reasons why he was wrong and I was right. And that's when we really started to learn something. That's when truth began to be uncovered. Oh, where is my old study partner? That's who I want most of all. That's who I miss most of all. Come back, Reish Lakish. Come back. I'll take a bullying gladiator who's not afraid to fight back and offer me a real challenge any day of the week. Come back, Reish Lakish. Come back, my one true friend. And then Rabbi Yochanan died of a broken heart. The end. So, my question number 8 today is, why are we studying this story? Why is this the beginning of our second semester? Why is this part? So 8 is, why are we studying this story? What is it saying about Machaloket in general? What is Rabbi Yochanan and Eliezer ben Padat teaching us? And that's question number 9. Number 10 is something that Hunter brought up in class. He said, well, wait a second. Let's not forget, despite all the things, the positive things that Rabbi Yochanan is saying about Machaloket, let's not forget what happens to Reish Lakish. And so what is that trying to tell us as well about Machaloket at times? Okay, here we go. So question number 11. Here we go. So what we're going to be studying actually this semester we're going to be studying Talmud, but we start off, as most pieces of Talmud start off with, a part of the Torah. So we're going to be looking specifically at something in Devarim. Now, if you remember correctly, I don't know if you remember what Devarim is about, but we've got Breshit, creation of the world. Shemot is Israelites in slavery, becoming free, getting the Ten Commandments. Vayikra is about ritual laws of working in God's house. Bamidbar is the long walk to the land of Israel. And so right here, if you remember right, Korach was right after they got this right after the spies came back and they're told, oh, you have to stay in Israel for 40 in the desert for 40 years before you get into the land of Israel. And Devarim is not when they get into Israel, but Devarim is basically a speech by this guy right here, by Moshe. And basically he's doing two things. The first thing he's doing is looking back at everything that happened before and kind of summarizing it for the people. By the way, why would he be doing that? Why would he need to summarize um, for the people, right? Haven't they been with him? Okay, so that's question number 12. And the answer, by the way, is no. Some of them have, but some of them actually have been born. It's 40 years now since they left Egypt. There are actually some newly born people who don't even know the history of the Jewish people at all. Now, another thing that Moshe does is he looks ahead. Moshe knows that after the Torah ends and after Moshe dies, the Israelites will get into Israel. And or the land of Canaan, which is later called Israel, but they will get there, and there they need to set up a society. So as we see here, chapter 16 in the book of Devarim says, "You shall appoint judges and officials for your tribe and all the settlements that your God is giving you, and they shall govern the people with due justice." So number 13 is this an example of Moses looking back or looking forward? Question number 14 is chapter 17. "If there is found among you in one of the settlements that God is giving you a man or a woman who has gone against God's rule, turning to worship of other gods and bowing down to them, to the sun or the moon or any of the heavenly hosts, something I never commanded, and you have made a thorough inquiry, you shall stone the man and woman to death." Is this looking back or looking forward? Okay, question number 15 goes to chapter 18. "The whole tribe of Levi shall have no territory in Israel. Everyone who offers a sacrifice must give the shoulders, the cheek, the stomach of the animals to the priest for food. You shall also give him the first fruits of your new grain and wine and oil and the first shearings of your sheep." Is this Moses looking back or looking forward? Now we're up to chapter 19. "When God has cut down the nations whose land God is assigning to you, you must set aside 3 cities in this land so that someone who has killed someone by mistake may have a place to run to for safety." That's number 16. Before, is he looking back or looking forward? Um, and now we're up to 21. So if you see, all the things that happened before are where all these things are Moses looking forward into what this land is going to be like. And here comes chapter 21. And this is really going to be the prime focus of our first month or so of school. And this is what is said. "If a man has a stubborn or rebellious son who does not heed his father or mother and does not obey them even after they discipline him, his father and mother shall take hold of him and bring him out to the elders of the town at the public place of the community. They shall say to the elders of the town, 'This son of ours is disloyal and defiant. He does not listen to us. He is a glutton and a drunkard.' Then the men of his town shall stone him to death. Thus you will sweep out evil from your midst. All Israel will hear and be afraid." So you may need to read this one more time and stop, because this actually, these words in chapter 21 of Moses' speech, when he's talking about the kind of world that he wants that the Israelites should set up when they get to the land of Israel, seems to go directly against everything we've thought about when we think about a machaloket. And by the way, the words stubborn and rebellious child or stubborn and rebellious son here are the words ben sorer umoreh. Say it with me. Ben sorer umoreh. One more time. Ben sorer umoreh. And so when we talk about a stubborn and rebellious child from now on, I'm often going to use the Hebrew ben sorer umoreh. So my question number 17 is why is this, knowing what we know about Machaloket, why is this so problematic, what we're reading in chapter 21? Why are these words so problematic? That's 18. And obviously they're so problematic because they're basically saying this is precisely the person who is rebellious, who is offering Machaloket. And instead of saying, wow, that's great, this is increasing our, like what Rabbi Yochanan said, it's making things learning amazing, it's expanding what we know is true. We're actually taking those people and saying, get rid of them, silence them. And by the way, what is the last verse saying about the effect of what this will have on? And so that's question number 19. The effect that this will actually have, knowing what will happen to you if you are considered a Ben Soreh Moreh. Okay. So So here's the big question. This is question number 20. We're getting towards the end of our class, but here's the big question: is knowing what we know about everything that came before that we did last semester about God's stance or the feeling about machloket, the negative feelings towards conformity and no disagreement whatsoever. Once we get something like this, we're going to see that there's something problematic. But here's the big problem. This is also in the Torah. So what are we going to do about this? What are we going to do with the fact that this exists, but it seems to go against everything that we've learned so far about the tendency to push up and to allow for machloket and to think positively about machloket. So give me your sense, make a hypothesis about how you think these words are going to be looked at, or what do you think is going to be done with these words? Okay. Okay. And I will tell you that in class, what people said was there's going to be a move that's going to be made that's going to try to show that these words don't apply or can't stand or can't exist in some way. But I'll tell you the other side. The other side is this is the Torah. And if something's in the Torah, we take it very, very, very seriously. So we're going to have a real trouble saying this doesn't exist because it does exist. So how do we deal with that? Okay. And that's really going to be the what we're going to be dealing with in this course, because if we don't deal with it, then we're getting this completely new idea of what machaloket is all about. But if we do deal with it and we try to figure out ways that it doesn't work, then all of a sudden we're saying, that idea of machloket being important and having and trying to emphasize it and make it flourish becomes part of the Jewish tradition. Okay, and so now what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to look at these two terms, chayav and patur. These are two Hebrew words that I'd like you to know because you're going to see them throughout our study this semester, these next 2 months. Chayav means guilty or obligated, right? Chayav means we must say that this person is obligated to be put to death or guilty of being ben suremara. Patur is the opposite of that. Patur is exempt or free, right? You're patur, so you're not going to be obligated. You're not going to be punished. You're not going to be called a ben suremara. So now I'd like you to look at 3 different cases and to use what we learned in the Torah right here. I want you to look at these 3 cases: case 1, case 2, case 3, and to tell me for each of those cases, are you chayav or chayav, patur, and why? Okay, so here we go. So I'm not going to read through them. You're going to have to read through them on your own. So here's the first one, number 21. A is Shmuel Kishka chayav or patur? Remember, chayav means guilty, patur means exempt or innocent. So according to what we know from the Torah, is Shmuel Kishka chayav or patur? That's A21A. A21B is tell me why. Number 2, Sarah Shacharit. This is question number 22. A is she chayav, guilty, or patur, innocent? And question B is why. And our final one, question number 23A is, read this over, is Rashi Levine chayav or patur? And 23B is tell me why. All right. Best of luck with this. Get your answers to me by Friday, please, for full credit.